All right. Thank you for joining us in the Realness Radio podcast, baby.
Here we go.
And today we are talking Verzuz, a big conversation we're going to do at every Verzuz special that comes out. We're going to have a post Verzuz show talking about what we thought and the hopes of the Verzuz channel overall. So it's me, your boy, King Shrek, and my co-host, Tony Tone.
Tony
and
Balone.
This is the Realness.
I'm for real. I'm for real.
Realer than real.
You're now tuned into the Realness Radio podcast.
I got you stuck off the realness.
Realness.
Y'all feel me? Y'all feel. Y'all definitely feel.
So, what'd you think, man? What'd you think? We just watched the Verzuz. For anybody who's listening, today was D'Angelo versus Friends. Now, most of us don't know what D'Angelo versus Friends means, but during this podcast, we're going to try to explain. What'd you think?
So, exactly what you said there. The Verzuz Friends had us all intrigued. I was intrigued. We were speculating on it beforehand. Who is it going to be? Who's popping in? And to be honest with you, I was pleasantly surprised right off the bat. But then it kind of fell flat.
Okay.
And I think you might agree there, but that first Friends was pretty amazing.
So the first Friends was credible, right? So I have a couple thoughts. My first thought was there should have been more Friends.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But the first friend was Red and Meth. So that's crazy. That was incredible. It was a credible song, dope. Not taking anything away from D'Angelo. I love him. But we should have had a few more Friends. It was more like a concert,
With some guest
D'Angelo
appearances,
style,
yeah.
with like 2 guest appearances.
Mm-hmm.
Than it was a Verzuz.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, the music was dope. It sounded good. There was no technical issues like we've heard with Verzuz in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They was vibing. I mean, the stage was set. His outfit was killer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he played all the songs that we like, all the ones that we really enjoy. I think for me, my biggest issue coming out of it is the format.
Yeah. I had a great time. I always love watching Verzuz, especially getting into the show from previous episodes, things like that. The anticipation is almost better than that's kind of how it felt today. The anticipation was almost better than what transpired. But again, not to take nothing away from D'Angelo, like that was amazing. I'm just not a huge D'Angelo fan, so I was more excited, I guess, for the Friends.
Me too.
Yeah. But it was a great performance. We all got to hear some good tracks. Let's not leave out DJ Scratch. DJ Scratch killed that. Like all that whole intro was playing all the tracks that we all love. What we were saying, if you from 82 or you from 80 to 90, this is your playlist right here.
This is your playlist.
He was playing some good shit. So.
I gotta say that honestly, he was part of more of the highlight of it all, because DJ Scratch played in 30, 45 minutes of just straight bangers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He kind of really set the stage for what we got. And I think for me, not, again, taking this away from D'Angelo, it felt like it was a little funner than we did get out of the D'Angelo portion of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, so you like mentioned this a few minutes ago. I'm not a huge D'Angelo fan. And we were having this conversation off show about like the difference for R&B and like a sultry style.
Right.
And we got a good like representation of a sultry style. You got your D'Angelos, your Donnell Jones, your Erykah Badu's, your Maxwell's. I listened to a few of those, but I really didn't get into the genre as much as I was into my deep R&B. Anybody who knows me knows that's my thing.
That's your shit. Yeah.
That's my shit. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of with you. I was more excited of the spectacle of the event more than I was for D'Angelo himself.
Yeah, and the songs, yeah, because I mean, we all know that video, the naked video. You know what I'm saying? We all
Yep.
know that
Yep.
song. That's like the epitome of D'Angelo, like that song. And there was a few others that I recognized. He had some good hits, and he had some really like where he displayed piano.
Oh, killer!
That guy
He's
with
still
the
got
trumpet in the beginning was
Dude
amazing.
with the
Dude with the
trumpet.
trumpet killed it. You
Dude
know what I'm
with the
saying? In the
trumpet.
Apollo Theater, like just
Anybody
killing that.
who's not, who's listening to this, if you haven't watched the verses and they have the beginning portion up later on, you got to check out the Dude with the trumpet. Kills it. I mean, he kills it, and he makes that song.
Mm-hmm.
He really does make that portion of the song.
Yeah.
And D'Angelo playing, y'all, he didn't skip a beat. Brother was still playing good. He's on the keyboard. He's on the piano. He's going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
He's still singing every song, and he's smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This motherfucker's smoking cigarettes
not
the whole way
giving
through.
a fuck.
Yeah,
Just smoking
yeah,
cigarettes,
some real shit.
but still killing it. I mean, the outfit, the jacket. I mean, he was murdering. The hat was killing. I mean, he really did set the stage.
It was a phenomenal performance
It
overall,
was a
for sure.
phenomenal performance.
Yeah.
It was really good. I think if you are a fan of D'Angelo, you would really enjoy the hour and a half, 2 hours of this, essentially a concert.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially what turned into a D'Angelo personal concert. And then there was those mixing moments is where he was playing, deep cuts, where me
Yes.
and you were talking about what deep
Yes.
cuts are.
Yeah, and I would like you to extrapolate on deep cuts a little bit because I did when you said it, I was like, what does that mean? But as you started explaining to me, I'm like, I'm a lover of deep cuts. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, yeah.
So for the listeners out there, if you're not familiar with the term deep cuts, for the most part, a deep cut is going to be a song on the album that was not one of the hits. So it's not going to be any of, some artists will put out 3 or 4 songs that are hit songs off of the album. You got to skip all of those songs and play every other one of them.
Mhm.
And then you'll find a couple of gems in there that people, us as the fans, start to really gravitate towards. And they become popular amongst the big fans and the goers, which those become the deep
They
cuts.
become like the cult classics of
They're the
of
cult
that, of that
classics.
CD or what have you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
when you put on that album, you're more caring about hearing those deep cuts, track number 7,
Mhm.
than you are hearing the single that everybody played over and over again, which you like too, which probably got you listening to the album,
Yeah.
but that's not what made you feel the artist. So sometimes the deep cuts is where it's at. And I mean, D'Angelo played a decent amount of them tonight.
Mhm. I think what it almost felt like too, what this Versus felt like, and maybe this might be something I'm speculating on, or something that just us as viewers don't necessarily pick up on, but it was more or less like an homage to D'Angelo for being
Who he
a
is.
great artist, because
Yeah.
you have Red and Meth drop by,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you heard it, but that very last 2 seconds where DJ Scratch threw on like another record and Meth was about to go in, he was like, "Nah, we ain't gonna do that."
Yeah,
And it
it's
was
your
like,
night.
"Yo, this is your show, baby. Throw him your roses." He said
Yeah.
something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was,
Loving it.
I think it was more or less like an appreciation of D'Angelo. You know what I'm saying? Like
And an homage to what
Yeah.
he's done
yeah,
in the industry and what he's
for sure.
you-
He probably deserves this little cut. You know?
and I got to give it to him. He's definitely an artist that people know.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And people listen to and people jam to. And I'm sure there's going to be people who listen to this who are like, "What the fuck? That was my shit."
Mhm.
How could you not,
Yeah.
be on your top? Sorry, guys. He wasn't on my top list of all-time artists, but he's incredible. I still enjoyed
Yeah,
it. It was
great-
still
great artist.
something that you would want to kick back and listen to. And the buzz was good. The buzz was good. I just got to say that I'm let down on the other side of this. I'm let down a little bit by not having more friends.
I would say so too. Yeah.
And not bigger friends. So there was a moment when we're trying to choose this on Apple Music to watch, y'all,
Mhm.
and we looked it up and it says D'Angelo and Maxwell.
Verse Maxwell.
So we're thinking, oh shit, this might be the
We
secret
blew
friend.
up too. We blew up. We were like, "Maxwell, you called it."
I was
Dude, like
loving
Shad
it.
called it. You
I'm
know what I'm saying?
screaming it. I'm loving it because I love Maxwell. So I'm
Yeah.
all about it. I'm really enjoying the fact that we could have that's the verses I want to see.
Yeah.
And then we get in there, and like we said, you get Red and Meth. I'm screaming. I was like, yo, I think they might go in a hip hop direction. Listen to what He's spinning. It's more hip hop than it is R&B. You know, it's a different vibe. And then we
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get anybody else until her, which is a new artist.
Yes.
Which is interesting because we haven't really seen any new artists on Verzuz for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been mostly older artists,
Mm-hmm.
more established artists, shall I say. Her's dope.
And she played that guitar. She blowed. Like she
blew.
She really.
She killed it.
She killed it. Like she was a highlight of that show. But that's the thing. At that point, you start getting really geared up. You're like, I can't. All right, I can't even wait now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who's next?
Who's next?
And there was a long, like interval in between those two guests. So I was like, I knew he was playing his stuff out, but I was maybe hoping for one more.
I was
you know what
hoping
I'm
for
saying?
at
At least for
least
like
one more.
3 more. You know what I'm saying?
A few
Like,
more. You said
yeah,
guest
yeah.
with an S. Nigga.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Well, it
was,
says friends. That's
I was,
plural.
excuse
You
me,
know what I'm
friends
saying?
with an S. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I don't. Yeah, I didn't like that portion. That let me down because when it comes down to the concept of verses, that's not versus nobody. It was just a D'Angelo concert.
Yeah. And maybe they should have called it that. Like, hey.
Yeah, maybe
like,
the marketing should have went that way, where it was like, hey, whoever was gonna be the option dropped out, and we're now gonna just do a D'Angelo. I would have still tuned in, you know, on
for sure.
Versus. I would have still tuned in, but I liked a little bit better when it was somebody versus somebody versus just a straight concert, because you do get that salt and sweet.
Yeah.
You get the left and right of the two artists versus.
Yeah. And even though most of the artists that have been on Versus have been very cordial about the whole thing, there is that element of competition between them, and you still feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's all love too. You know?
Yeah,
what I'm
you
saying?
get that
So it's
lower
like,
layer of like.
I think that's what I like about the Versus in general. When it's good, like the DMX and the Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, perfect example.
That was a great meshing of two artists.
Yep.
Where they came together, played their hips. DMX slow played us for a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was playing all the ones he loved and shit, but I
Yep.
was like, dude, it's going down. Like I need to hear it's going down. I
You
need to
didn't
hear
hear
it's like,
X gonna give it to
X
you.
gonna give it to you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But
It
like,
was
and then he brought
crazy.
it, you know what I'm saying? But
And Snoop enjoyed it. You do enjoy the ones where you have more of the camaraderie and more of the two artists together.
yeah.
So the one I would mention that I really like that was 2 Chainz versus Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And all 2 Chainz kept saying all night is like, this ain't a versus, this is two homies, you know, playing back-to-back jams that would just happen. And they've
Kicking
done
it.
so much together
Yeah.
that it was just like, it was like a night of Atlanta and Florida, just back-to-back, banger after banger after banger. So you kind of enjoy that little bit of A, a little bit of B. When you just get one, it's a little bit. So you can't really call this versus, because he really didn't versus nobody.
Nope.
You just played all your songs and then had a couple people come in. So it's not really a versus. This is a concert.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of let down by that portion of that, because, you know, it should have
I
been
agree.
a little more.
Yeah.
However, maybe it's a start of something different. So maybe it's going to be something they're going to add to, which we'll probably talk a little bit later about. But if I had to take away from something, I was like, I had to nitpick. That would be my nitpick.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what I brought up earlier about each crew basically having their own style for the verses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we have these different production crews. It's their people, and they're obviously setting it up so that, you know, they got certain songs playing. So it's a whole production, and each production has its own style, and we're feeling that from each one. That's what I like about the whole thing. It's organic. It feels like it's coming from each individual group. And you know, the ones that put it on, they put it on. You know what I'm saying?
And when they put it on, they put it on.
It's something special, like the E40 and the Too Short one last time.
Something special.
That was something special right there.
That was something special.
Wasn't it?
To see 40 goof around and dance the way he did,
and they're
to
just
see him
drinking
so
and
happy
fucking smoking,
and just doing it up and doing it for the Bay. Doing it for
doing
the
some
Bay.
funny dances and shit.
Yeah, just doing some goofy dances, hopping around, doing crazy stuff,
hyping your boy up
Yeah.
to fucking do some dumb shit.
But I think that's what we enjoyed about it was that they're homies.
dumb.
So they're doing dumb shit. They're goofing around. They got plenty of tracks together. It's just going back and forth for days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we didn't get out of this one, unfortunately, is that because there's not somebody to go against, there's no
there's no back and forth. Yeah.
There's no salt and pepper
Interplay, yeah.
sweet and salty. There's no, you don't get that back and forth because there is none. So we're only playing your music.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, at least if they were going to do it in that faction, they picked a good artist to do it with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least, like, it wasn't somebody garbage.
Right.
That, you know what I mean, that we were stuck with. D'Angelo is a good pick. I just wanted more people.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
that's the spirit of that's the spirit of the Verzuz. But
it's kind of interesting that it happened like that. But I liked it. I mean, the one thing I also noticed too is they didn't really play on the Apollo theme a little more than I thought. There would be like a little more, I don't know, something about, like, I didn't see nobody go up and touch the stump and like do the whole thing that you would do at the Apollo. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of interesting. You know what I mean?
I think it just speaks to what you're saying though. Like as far as like it being disappointing, it's not super disappointing. It's just that so much more shit could have happened. So many like they almost dropped the ball on their opportunity to make something better than, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like what we were saying with
make a bigger production of it
with like Keisha Cole. And you know what I'm saying? It was almost like she had the opportunity to talk about the Tupac song.
That's another one.
And she actually did, but she could have done that with every song.
She could have done
more. You know what I'm
more.
saying? And like,
it's good you bring that one up because that's a good example of like, what you could have, another missed opportunity. And it could go back to what you were saying, the producers who are doing each individual show and not the, you know, the major players in this, but the producers themselves.
Yeah.
It could go to that itself, that they just didn't, you know, get it together. But Keish came on, she was lady as fuck. Yeah. She didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even mean to like diss on that shit. Like I have like an idealistic view of like how these things would go, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I still enjoy all of it.
Loved it completely. And, you know, like the Keisha Cole thing, she's one of my favorite artists. You know, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
I love her deep cuts. You know, I love her music.
Yep.
It speaks to me as a person. But she didn't come prepared when she came to stage. You know, she was late. She was playing longer songs instead of playing the standard verse and chorus, you know, giving us a sample and letting your opponent go. It just felt like she wasn't as prepared, or for lack of a better word, poised, as Ashanti then carried herself. And then also the other thing that was interesting is she chose to go the route of playing more deep cuts than playing her popular hits.
Right.
Whereas Ashanti chose to play more of her, maybe, and she also has more hits to play, but she played more of her hits versus going for the deep cuts that some of the fans might enjoy. So it was interesting for that one that you just watched that one. So
yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very interesting watching just the interplay of people. I enjoy it.
Right. And
you know what I'm saying?
And that's the fun of it too.
Yeah, it's the great part of it. Yeah. It's kind of like people watching.
In this one and in the last one, we were just talking about Ashanti, Keisha Cole. I wanted more story. That was the only thing that I felt like, and you know, was kind of lacking. We didn't get as much story between them. Like you said, she had a track, you know, with Tupac, and she's talking about it, and she kind of brought it up. But we want to know more of how that happened, more of, you know, getting the chance to make a song. I
think that would enhance the experience of the whole thing in general, like
a better understanding of where you were at when this happened.
Because all of these people have done really great things. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, musically, you know what I'm saying? They've accomplished a lot. They're well known. They're vocally, they're just talented and respected amongst their peers. You know what I'm saying? And they have these real crazy interactions, I'm sure, all the time with each other. And I'm sure people inspire each other back and forth, but I don't know, maybe it's something that like we're not always aware of on that tip, but like you can kind of make that moment, especially when you're using song and art as like as the the medium to express that emotion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
Right.
setting up a story and then releasing it through a
Ye-
song, which is art. And
exactly.
it's like this whole thing it could be more. I don't even want to
Artful.
say more artful, but I appreciate when it is. You know,
I
what I'm saying?
appreciate when it is,
Yeah.
and more of a prime example of that was the Babyface and Teddy Riley one.
Mhm.
When you had two producers, Babyface was making sure he was telling you stories about when he wrote this song, why he wrote it. He had these singers in mind. He
Mhm.
was making this, he was making that, you know, and he really gave you an insight on what was going on at that time and how that song came to be. And that was one of your favorite songs.
Mhm.
And on a separate program that he did by himself, it was, I want to say it was Mother's Day, and he did a Waiting to Exhale special. And
Okay.
he produced that album, and it was an album that he had created that was all women.
Mhm.
So every track was all female vocalists, but it was all the best female vocalists that we had knew and heard of, you know, at the time.
Right.
So it was a night of him just telling you stories about, okay, we had me and Whitney was there and we was writing this and we were talking about this and this is how we came up. And then I was like, well, you know, I want to get Tony on the track. So I got to call Tony Braxton. So then I had, you know, what was Janet doing? You know what I mean? So you
Mhm.
got to know like how and why he chose to pick those artists
Yeah.
to produce the
The
way he
inspiration.
did for them, what they needed. It's cool to hear about how
Yeah.
the sausage is made, as they
Oh
say.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
People want to know
Backstory.
Do you want backstory?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're just curious. You know what I mean? I just want to know what were you thinking?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why'd you pick that one, or why? It's perfect because those songs are most of the songs that we love, and these artists that you're talking about. It's like these are perfect songs. How the fuck did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking? You know, and if you was feeling real pain, tell us a story.
Absolutely.
You know, don't tell her his or her name, but tell us what it is.
Mhm.
You know, so I think that those two were kind of interesting. They kind of missed a little bit of that storytelling. The music was there.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't take that, you know, just saying all this, folks, I'm not going to take away from the fact
Not at all.
that the music was monumental. You know what I mean? And the musical experience was monumental. If we had to go back and do it again, I would be like, I don't give a damn, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care. We just could have had people there on time.
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's the thing. So I was like, even with this, with her and D'Angelo, it's like you have these like yeah. If there was concerts going on outside of Corona, like these are amazing performances that you wouldn't see unless you paid for the ticket. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that kind of brings us into the second part of this whole conversation. And it's like the creation and the idea of what Versus is and stood for. So, I mean, it's crazy because we were talking about this earlier. It started from Timberland and Swiss Beats getting together, putting together this Versus performance out of necessity because of the Corona.
Because of the pandemic, yeah.
The pandemic started, everything locked down. We didn't have shows, we didn't have entertainment. There was no more concerts. There was no way for performing artists to really, you know, get their stuff out, even comedians and stuff. So
adapt, overcome, yeah.
And that's what they did. Started kind of a small thing where they were pitting artists against each other in a fun way. And now it's turned into a phenom. Now it's turned into something that is crazy. And I was telling you earlier that I believe that this is true. You guys can look it up, fact check me later, that, you know, this had got more viewers than all of the award shows last year in 2020.
Right.
When people were home. So that means you would have had optimal watching time because people didn't have nowhere to go. They were just at home. So the viewers to these Versus programs way outweighed that and gives a huge, tremendous boost to the artists after they're then on the show because people are invigorated.
Yeah, their streams go up.
Their streams go up.
Their views go up. All
their
that,
likes go up. Their songs go up. Their everything goes up because people are all about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's a phenom. It's something different for sure. Um,
So I wrote down a few little notes here about like some of the artists they've done so far. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And where the potential goes from there, right? So we talked about some of the other ones, but the ones we didn't mention was Jada and Fab, Alicia Keys and John Legend, Erica Badu, Jill Scott. You had Bounty Killer and Beanie Man.
mhm.
That was like the reggae one. I didn't get to see that one
I
either.
haven't seen that one.
And I
yeah.
would want to see that one.
Yes.
A big one that I missed out on because I fell asleep. Stupidest reason. But it was 112 and Jagged Edge.
Okay, that's a killer right there.
That's a killer.
Yeah, that's a killer right
But
there.
this was at the beginning, so they had different places
Mhm.
and they couldn't get the stream right.
Yeah.
So I heard Jagged Edge's audio was awful.
Okay. Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
unfortunate. See, they
Yeah.
got to reshoot some
They
of
got to
these,
reshoot
man.
those
Yeah.
because these are some of the so fars. You know what I mean? We had Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight. They need more of these like
Mhm.
big names because this is just the beginning. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
most of those, actually, everything that I just mentioned was all season 1.
Yeah.
We're in now in the second episode, as it is, of season 2 of Verzuz. I think this show really has the potential to become its own network.
Yeah, for sure. And to go back kind of what you were talking about earlier is like it's really changed the game. Like, so how many people did we have over here watching the E40 Too Short? We had about 7, 8, 9 people.
So far, we were all Corona safe
Yeah.
in our
All
bubble.
Corona safe.
We had about 8 or 9 people here, and
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But yeah, it's like you're watching the fight, you're watching the game, you're watching an event, and you can have people over and gather, and everybody comes together and jams on some old school stuff. Remember, I remember that song, this song, and it's a good time. That's all I'm saying. It's a phenom, and it's gonna keep going. It's gonna keep even when the pandemic is all said and done, this is gonna keep happening.
I agree.
think.
I agree. I think this is here to stay. And yeah, when we had the folks over, we were talking about this, earlier. It is akin to having a De La Hoya fight back in the day,
Dude, the De La Hoya.
or having a Mayweather fight, where you have a house
Roy
full
Jones,
of people,
Tyson,
Roy Jones,
yeah.
UFC. You have a packed place full of people who
Especially
are
about-
watching an event.
You have a music loving family.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Like if
That's right.
everybody just loves music, like you just have a party and have verses on, and everyone's gonna be
Exactly.
gathered around the TV.
It's turned into that kind of thing where people gather around like an event. So it's not just people gathering around for a TV show weekly like I do watching nerd stuff like WandaVision. It's something
You
that
watch WandaVision?
Duh.
Oh, duh!
Come
Oh,
on, man.
dude.
There's
My
nothing-
lady got me into WandaVision the other night.
There's nothing Marvel I don't watch.
Oh
dog.
my god,
Come
that
on
shit
now.
was funny, dude.
Well, we'll definitely get into that one on a different podcast.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, I'm up on my nerd
Duh.
stuff, dog. Duh. Come on now.
Yeah.
But it gathers so many people like it's a mini concert. And it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was one of the things that I thought that I loved the most when I first started, and we were doing it earlier, is you're reading the comments. And there's so many people who are just who are experiencing the same thing as you.
No,
At
I
the
think it
same
happened like
time.
3 times where I would say something or you would say something, and literally that tweet would come up underneath.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
'Cause
saying? Like we're
people-
thinking the same shit right
We're
here.
on the
Like,
same
yeah,
wavelength.
We're on the same level.
all partying, watching this.
Yeah.
You get to see how many of your favorite celebrities
Mm-hmm.
are on there watching. You know, some of these big ones we've had Michelle Obama watching, Diddy watching, all the biggest celebrities and people that we like. They're doing the same thing that you are in your house right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're by their families, by their friends, having a drink, having a party. If it's R&B, they're relaxing. If it's, hip hop or a big night, they're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So it's really turned into a thing that I agree will stay past the pandemic. And like I said, I would not be shy if they started doing their own streaming type service or got on a network. I'm surprised the network hasn't picked it up, or maybe they have and we just haven't known about the insight on that. But I feel like this will go further because, we've only had so many artists
Mm-hmm.
and we have so much music to go. Pandora's box has not even been opened. We're just in hip hop and R&B.
So who are you thinking? Like who are your like hopefuls for
All right.
upcoming verses?
All right, I wrote some hopefuls down, and these are just things that I think would break the bank.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. When it comes to hip hop and R&B, and we're still in that kind of vein, I think that New Edition versus New Kids on the Block would be crazy.
Oh yeah,
because during the time that those groups came out, they were the first boy bands, and they were the first like kind of groups to be compared to each other in that time frame.
Those fools are like 50 now.
Hell yeah, that's what makes it better. Them old ass fools, they ain't gotta get up and dance, sit on some
They'd be
stools.
all dancing. They'd be like, God damn.
Yeah, sit up on
Gotta
some
stretch
stools. You
and
can't
shit
do
first.
them. You can't do them dance moves. Bobby Brown been through too much. He can't do all
Everyone
that.
got jean jackets on. And
You
shit.
know what I'm saying? They just in leather and
bleached
everybody,
hair and shit.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that would be crazy, right?
No, yeah, for sure.
That would be a good show. There's a couple more in mind that I have. Let's see the old list here. So some of these are going to be non hip hop R&B related, right? So I started to really think about this, and I was thinking about
crossing genres. And
I was
things like
thinking
that.
about the potential that we're really only in one genre, kind of /2. We're in hip hop and R&B, and I mean we have so many old artists that are still alive. So we can go through like the Temptations versus the OJs. We can do Blackstreet versus Jodeci. You know what I mean? There's a couple more that I had listed, but if you get into some of the other genres, there's some big ones that'll break the bank. Okay, so I'll give you two pop ones that I've just been thinking about throwing around. What if they did NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys?
Bro.
I mean,
bunch of fools dancing in
again.
No, honestly, it would be dope because you're gonna have JT there. You're gonna have, all the other ones. I don't.
I think they're glad that you know their name.
Yeah, Ryan. I think one of them's name's Ryan.
It's Brian.
No, that would be awesome. Christina, Brittany.
So
like we said earlier.
List.
Okay,
that's on my list.
Christina, Brittany would be wild though, right?
Well, both of those would be wild because you had dudes that are in and out of like.
But did you see Britney's last like YouTube video where she's dancing and shit?
Yeah.
Like,
but did you see the Britney Spears documentary? You didn't see the Britney Spears doc? There's a fucking documentary out right now. Oh, and it's out. I think
Netflix?
the Wall Street Journal put it out.
No
and
shit.
I think it's on like Hulu or something.
Oh, okay.
And it's about her and her not being able to have her legal guardianship over herself, and her dad's been in control of her stuff, and they say that she's been locked up and controlled by her father and the estate for a long time. I don't know the conspiracy, but a lot
it gets
of that,
wild, huh?
It gets super wild.
Yeah.
So all of that is pretty fucking good to go ahead and put on TV because I'd like to see
That's
it.
good TV right there. Yeah, that would be awesome. Are you talking about any like rock and roll artists or
I mean
are we getting out into that sphere? Country artists?
I mean, so that's
I could see that happening.
So that's what I'm thinking. You get there's so many, like when you think about the genres there's out there that is untapped. You can do what did I say earlier? Rob Zombie and Manson, two dudes who toured together for years.
Manson just came up on some charges or something too. Did you hear that?
Yeah. He has some stuff going on.
But that one doesn't surprise me though when you hear that. You know what I'm saying? You're like, this fool's trying to like stick frogs up your ass and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm not even
choke you. And
I'm not even gonna touch that at the moment. I'm not even gonna touch that at the moment. But you get two guys like that who have been touring together for so long. There's going to be amazing stories about both of them shoving frogs up chicks' asses. You know, it's going to be awesome. Then you get, I mean, you can. Sorry, I had to make a tangent there. But you get many artists of their caliber in any field, there's still a lot of people left, and there's still a lot of untouched potential for them to then start doing. And just think about the phenomenon that this is, where they're having millions and millions of views and likes, and that's just hip hop and R&B.
Yeah.
So with
I don't think
big
we've
bands
even,
like that,
I don't think we've even delved into the hip hop scene like that could the phenomenal verses that we could see. So
and we'll think about also that they're getting a lot of likes, but this is all hip hop and R&B. So this is stuff that families aren't all gonna listen to. You know what I mean? Like some families will, some families will not. So you're looking at someone like Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera. Everybody could watch that. Parents are not gonna worry about their kids not being able to see that one. So you're gonna get twice the amount of viewership, because it's just something that appeals to more people. You're going to get less of the hip hop and R&B crowd, but you then open yourself up to another audience that is just as big or with more catalyst, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
if it's NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, there's a lot of people on our side of the table that are going to act like they're not going to watch it, but they're going to watch it because we all remember them songs.
Oh yeah. If they announce NSYNC and Backstreet Boys in like next month, like I was like, all right,
I'm gonna be there.
that's gonna be
it.
the next Versus conversation.
It's gonna be crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think the only thing that puts a hinge in that is that they want to do Justin Timberlake and Usher, which I think is dope.
That's amazing.
Like I think is a dope conversation. I think they should have that because they're dope.
JT's my man crush.
I love JT, dude. He's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites of all time.
That's for you, Aunt Rachel. I know you. I know you.
Yeah, I love JT and I love Usher, and they were two dudes who were gonna both pick up Justin Bieber's career, and they're two dudes who also put out a lot of solo albums, and not one of those solo albums was like garbage. I mean, JT's was probably last solo album was a little less than usual, but it was still good. So it's like those kind of dudes. It's insane how many people will watch that. And again, that does not, like, Ozzy Osbourne's still alive, dude. So you're telling me you're not going to put Ozzy back on TV in front of a microphone to do his songs and talk with another huge metal band? That would break the internet.
That would be crazy.
You know what I mean? Like
I heard Ozzy's like incomprehensible, like talking to him, but like once you put him behind a mic with some music, like he goes off and it's Ozzy.
Hey, you don't remember the
You know what I'm
90s show
saying?
when you couldn't understand a damn sentence on MTV?
Yeah.
That is Ozzy. Well,
But then as soon as
two
you put him
things.
on the song, he's going.
Drugs, and he has an accent.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't understand any of that shit.
Yeah.
But then you get, you do get people on the mic, and what you do in singing is you have to pronounce diction. So you have to use every bit of the sentence, every bit of the language, every syllable and everything in your sentence. So it's very clear. You know what I mean?
Kind of like your customer service voice.
Kind of like my white voice. You know, I'm like, hey, well, welcome in, guys. How are y'all?
How you doing there?
How you doing? But then most of the time I call everybody nigga.
Yeah.
It's a term of endearment. Don't worry, guys.
Makes me feel at home.
It's supposed to. And as a black man, it's uncancelable. So I just throw nigga at everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how important you are.
Yeah.
You my nigga, dog. What's
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
So I'm excited about the potential that is Versus and what's going on. What do you think? Where do you think they go next? What do you think they're gonna do next?
I think, I'm hoping they turn it up a little bit. With the last two just being, well, actually not the last two. E40 and Too Short was the one prior, correct?
Well, yeah, the last two were
I think because I
R&B.
just watched the Keisha and the Ashanti one.
Yeah,
but I
but
feel like they need to turn it up a little bit as far as maybe
do a hip hop artist again.
do a hip hop artist or even kind of go pop. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe change it up a little bit.
It's season 2. It's the time.
Yeah, but I think what they're doing is pretty good right now. I don't necessarily want to see any like super genre changes right now because I'm enjoying this Versus and I think they're doing something good. And
Me
they
too.
just need to refine it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost like there's you know which ones did really good, the ones you loved watching. You know what I'm saying? You're
Yep.
like, they did it right, and they should maybe capture that
Yep.
framework for
every single one
each
of them.
one, and still have that new energy to it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Where it's still creative and they're still doing new
Right.
things, but it has kind of like a base, like this is how it goes
Yeah, a
down.
base structure to it.
Yeah, because it doesn't have that right now.
These are the building blocks, and you can
Yeah.
do it a little different each way, but this is how we essentially go about. This
Yeah.
is the recipe.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that that's kind of the better way that they could transition into, is having kind of a set recipe, but being able to color it the way you want to.
Right.
Because it's working.
Yeah, giving you a
it is working.
blueprint, but you have creative freedom within that
Right.
blueprint. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I also agree, going back to what you were saying, is not taking the genre different at the moment.
Mhm.
I also agree that in the moment for season 2 that we're in, I think they should keep it what we're doing right now. Keep the hip hop and R&B going,
Mhm.
because it's also that there's so many artists that we still haven't done yet
Right.
in this genre before we leave. Because like I said earlier, when you get into the rock and roll, we can do that. Like
Mhm.
that could seriously be its own Versus channel by itself independently.
Yeah, for sure. And that can happen with other companies. Like that genre can decide to make their own versus style content.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's
And
on
do it
them. And
now.
I think that's how it'll happen organically, is like those people will say, hey, this versus is doing good. Like we should do the same thing in our genre.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
could be
might
in the
how it
works.
take off. But versus, yeah, they should definitely stay just true to the R&B, hip hop, sultry, all that. Yeah.
I think they should definitely do that. They did launch a couple weeks ago before the NFL season was over. They were doing Versus NFL, and they had Deion Sanders and a couple other football players, and they were going over plays and
Oh,
stuff.
no kidding.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
doing a
that's
little Versus TV that was
Yeah.
sports related. So they are branching out, because they had a little sports thing going on, and they're gonna. So it might be that they'll keep the Versus umbrella company, but it might be Versus country or Versus rock, or the different genres, but it might still be under the Versus umbrella,
Right.
to keep it the brand recognition.
Yeah.
There.
And sports is not a bad way to move.
It was good, and it was the perfect time to do that because the season was there and they had all the artists to do so. So it was a good time for them to kind of get in there and do it. And it was dope to watch. I didn't watch it from the beginning, so I didn't have a clear-cut idea what the show was supposed to be about or what I was supposed to be expecting, because I didn't.
It would be
Start
very
from the
awesome,
beginning?
like when you said though, Deion Sanders, like to go and watch the career of Deion Sanders, like through.
Are you kidding
the
me? That would be
Falcons,
amazing.
Who did he play for? The Cowboys.
I can't remember the rest.
I think he
of
played
them.
San Francisco. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he was the playmaker. It was prime time. I used to play that video game on Sega.
He was the dude.
Yeah,
He was
a
the
G.
fucking dude.
Yeah.
Like that dude he don't play no games.
Yeah.
Like he was one of my favorites.
He just held the ball in his hand like a basketball, palming it. I'm like,
he
man,
would-
tuck that motherfucker.
Yeah, he would move different. He
Yeah.
would move different. Dion played different, and he talked shit different. So it's good to have him on TV.
He's flashy, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They had him in there. He's got a little throne seat, and he was up there. He's got the mic in front of him, and he's doing his thing. So it was cool. So I think that is the sign that Versus is, teaming up with like the NFL Network, and they're doing all these other things. So I think that is a sign that they probably have some big things coming. And I think with all these other team ups that we're doing with Apple Music and all this, is probably generating a good amount of revenue, which means they can parlay that into a network or whatever they plan to do and really push out content. So I don't think that they're done yet by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all.
And I think that's why I wanted to put out this podcast and really have a Versus conversation every time one comes out or in between, and we'll drop these, relatively close to when the show has aired, right after, a couple days after, so it's still fresh in your mind. But we want to have this conversation so that there is a place for Versus to have a conversation. We're not seeing a Versus podcast. We're not seeing a Versus after show or anything to really wrap your head around what you just saw. If you're super stoked, the artist, the outfits, the stage, the whole conversation as a whole.
Exactly.
So that's what we're going to be here for.
Yeah.
And that's what the
Character
Realness will do.
development. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying?
what the Realness will do, is we're going to have a conversation after every Versus, and we're going to talk about what it means to the culture, what it means for us, what the artist, who's up next.
As music lovers, what
Yeah.
what's the next move? All
yeah,
that.
what we doing? How's it
Mhm.
going? So I'm excited. I'm excited for their future because
Mhm.
who knew they created something we didn't know we needed?
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew we needed this?
Yeah.
Like who knew? I didn't think this is the way that we'd be watching, listening, intaking the music to have a concert in your house. This is like you're watching,
Mhm. And I
I don't
think
know, VMAs or some
I
shit.
feel like this speaks to people on a larger level, like not even to compare versus to like any kind of pandemic, but the pandemic has inspired so many people and businesses to change and adapt and alter. And we've done that as people. We adapt. And that's what Versus is. It's adaptive entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's how are we entertaining each other? How are we still playing our roles in society and stuff like that? And even business owners are having to switch
Yep.
to all this different stuff, takeout and
Yep.
delivery and all this. You know what I'm saying? So it causes everyone to make moves, and that's a good thing.
I guess
Stay on your toes.
people will adapt. I
Mhm.
guess we will adapt. We will keep going. And this was, I guess, the natural progression that we were headed towards. It's just interesting. You just never know what pops up. When it all went down
Mhm.
and the world turned upside down as we kind of knew it, you
Mhm.
know, and you were like, well, how are we going to get our entertainment? How are we going to go to shows? How are we going to see artists? How are we going to still get music?
Yeah.
I had these concert tickets. We've had a couple friends who were crying because they couldn't see the shows that they had already planned.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a couple guys decided to get together and be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to provide it.
Yeah.
And this is how we're going to
Make
do it.
something happen.
And it was brilliant. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say enough about Versus. Anybody who knows me knows I just go on and on about it
Mm-hmm.
because the potential of the music and what it could do from then on, you know, who knows? Someone can have a good idea and it could be Versus movies, you know what I mean? And you can have two actors talking about their careers or whoever, you know what I mean? There's just so many people. You know who could do a good Versus that we haven't seen? I don't know who would match up against him, but Will Smith.
Will Smith.
We forget that Will Smith's whole career started off rapping.
Yeah.
And like the last one that he put out, last verse he put out was still Flame.
Who would go up against Will Smith?
Who knows? We know we get to see
Who's his
Jazzy
equal?
Jeff.
Yeah, but that's the homeboy.
We get to see him again. I got it. I know it.
Yeah.
I got this.
Let's see.
Queen Latifah. We
Hey.
remember she
Hey.
started her career off with bars.
Yeah.
Or LL Cool J.
LL would be a dope one. That's just that same era. That's all that.
Bars.
Yeah.
It's that old school rap, bars on bars.
Okay. You want to cross? This isn't necessarily crossing genres, but Will Smith versus Beastie Boys,
That would be a good boy.
which is just like, you know, it's kind of off cuff, you know,
That'd
a
be
little
a
bit.
good one, but if I'm gonna do Beastie Boys, I would say Beastie Boys versus Run DMC.
Run DMC.
Same time, genre, they got compared a lot to each other.
Yeah.
It was basically the white version of these black guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They was all rocking the shell
Okay, there we go.
toes.
Now we're talking.
You
Yeah.
know, see that's your matchup right
Yeah.
there. And you got two legendary groups that
Mhm.
people haven't seen
Mhm.
together forever.
And that's
And
really
you
what
know
it's
they
about
got
is
stories.
the nuances and the context between the two
Yeah.
groups. Like they could be from different parts of the
Yeah.
planet, but like that, if they're the same time area,
You know, they
same
toured
time
together, they
frame, you know?
met, they hung out, they
Yeah.
did whatever, then you know they did.
That's why I love
So-
Snoop Dogg and DMX, because it's two dogs, one from the east and one from the west. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that context that makes those even better. You know?
Yep. So I think if you get those kind of artists, you gotta like Beastie Boys, Run DMC.
Yeah.
I think it's even better when you do stuff like that, when you stylistically get them kind of close to each other. You know what I mean? Because then
Wu Tang, NWA.
it would be interesting.
Yee.
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Wu Tang. That'd be a hard one because you either do Wu Tang
You
as
got
a
a gang of
group,
fools too.
and then you have to find. There's really not a mega group like that with such hard hitters. It would
Mm-mm.
probably be easier to have artists, you know, versus different
Separate, yeah,
artists.
single artists. Yeah.
But I definitely say Method versus Red.
Dude, Meth and Red, dude. That's a duo, but it's also
It's
a
two-
great versus.
It's two knuckleheads goofing around.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna have a good ass time. They're
Yeah.
gonna bullshit.
That's why I felt like the AZ Nas would be a great one too. Because
Jay-Z Nas.
AZ.
AZ Nas.
You know AZ?
I don't remember AZ.
AZ was Nas's boy, but they had a group, but it was well, yeah, the Jay-Z Nas is epic.
I'm
You
just
know what I'm
saying, there's no better rap beef.
But AZ, yeah, you got to look into AZ, man. He's got some tracks.
My only beef with AZ is that if I ain't heard of him, not a lot of people might have heard of him.
Yeah, he's more of like, yeah, he does remind me of some like a Big L, you know what
So,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
so
lyrically great artist, puts out great music, but relatively unknown, you know?
Yeah, relatively unknown.
But I think a lot of people have heard of AZ.
It'd be, see, if you do Nas, you gotta go harder. You gotta give him the Jay-Z, dog. How you
Yeah.
gonna not have him play fucking Ether in the room?
Well, that's
dog?
happened though, you know what I'm saying?
You
Too.
know,
We've seen it already in live, you know what I'm
Like,
saying?
we need to see that again.
like the
bro.
Game and 50. Yeah.
We need that.
So there does needs to be some hard verses though. You know
There-
what I'm
there
saying?
needs to-
There should be
but
some
so,
like some real good ones.
They
Like
wasn't
maybe
talk-
some beef.
They
you know?
wasn't talking Game and 50. We talking 50 and Ja, bro.
That's
Bring
not
back
even
the
a
real beef, dog.
That's not even a beef. That's a annihilation right there.
Still, bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Bring back the real. Bring back that one, because we remember that. Even
Mhm.
if we know Ja's gonna lose,
Mm-hmm.
still gotta bring it back. We still gotta get that.
You know a fight's breaking out on that versus someone's getting stabbed.
Maybe I think that's why it really ain't happened yet. Because I don't know if they could handle dealing with each other. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that portion of it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, man, I feel like we've done a pretty good chunk of time today.
Yeah, absolutely. We covered a lot.
Covered a lot, talked about a lot. All you listeners out there, I want to remind you guys to don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to all of our stuff. You can listen to the podcast on a whole bunch of social medias now, or places where you listen to your podcast,
Yeah,
and
social
see us
medias, yeah.
on social media. Because I guess that's a little bit of A, a little bit of B, but we are out there now. So check us out, YouTube, Spotify. Check us out on Anchor. And we're going to start doing another show on the Stereo app once a week later, in kind of the middle, towards the later end of the week. So if you guys want to join us on the Stereo app, you can download it and you could submit questions and conversations on whatever we're going to be talking about. You could talk to us live. And then after that's done, we'll record it up, put it up, and as a next show. So join us on the Stereo app when we start doing those, and stay tuned for the next verses and the next episode of The Realness.
Yeah.
We're
And if hey, and real quick, if you guys don't like verses, if you're not into it just yet, maybe we're introducing you to it. Like, listen to verses, watch the next verses with your family. Like, they're wonderful. You have a great time, a grand time, and it's actually helped reinvigorate my love for music again, because I kind of been away from it for a minute. But it's good times. It really is.
It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. So if you guys haven't got a chance, check it out. You can keep up to date with the conversation. Then you know a little bit about what we're talking about. And like you said, it'll be a good time for your family. And while you're checking that out, don't forget to check out the podcast.
Yes, sir.
And if you want to find me, I'm at Superior Shrek on Instagram, at King Shrek on Facebook, and
Yep. And prolific_pappy on Instagram. Check us out.
all right, and we out, y'all.
Peace.